Well, hello everybody. It's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. This is a month-long series of doing granny squares. And the reason we have decided to go this direction for this month is a couple reasons. One of the main reasons is I'm on recovery. I'm doing well, but I'm on recovery, so my schedule is greatly decreased, so we have the time. But the real important reason of doing this series, this is something we talked about when we first talked about doing crochet tutorials, is granny squares is like the staple of crocheting. People love granny squares, like absolutely love them. I absolutely love them. Maggie loves them. With granny squares, you can do so much. You can make so many different projects, and you think you know all the projects, and then you see another one come out. It's just amazing with granny squares. But today, this is the Petal granny square. Now, the reason my stitch markers are still on the corners is I opted not to do the edging on this one until I got on video, so you guys can see how I do the edging. But now I opted for 4 rows of this petal square. Now the tutorial, the lady that did the original of this is not my pattern. She did 5 rows, but the 5th row, the petal seemed very stretched. I felt like it took away from the blanket. So from the square, excuse me. So I opted for 4 rows. You can do 5. Technically, you can do as many as you want, but it gets very distorted. So I would not recommend doing that at all. So here's the one that I did I'm in love with. I did from light to dark of the purples. Purples are my favorite color. Then I did one in solid. And then I did the border. And what I found out very quickly with this pattern is that these squares, I would highly recommend to block them, because as you can see, very wavy. See it? And my stitch counts are right. Everything's right. And these sides work perfectly for joining, but you will need, if you want the actual square look of these, you will need to block them. That is just my strong recommendation. So now let's get back to this one. You will need stitch markers for this project. You will need 4 of them. I recommend 3 of the same color. And then I think all these are the same. I would recommend 3 of the same and 1 different. That way you can tell where you're started and you're joined. Okay. Now doing this square is going to be a little, when you start it, you're going to think this isn't right. This is not right. It's absolutely not right. Trust it. It is right. But the other condition to making these, you do need the magic ring. I tried figuring out doing it with a chain and a connection, and it just doesn't work out right for me. I have not found a way to do it where it works, because your beginning circle has 8 petals in it. So you need the room, but then you need to squeeze it tight enough to join them to make it small enough. And when you do a chain, it just doesn't work so good. So that's the other condition. And you do need to know your basics of understanding how granny squares work. And I think Maggie posted the classic granny squares, our first one, and that was done purposely, because if you can understand the original granny square, then you can take those theories and add them in to your other granny squares. It's amazing how your knowledge of crocheting just can keep transferring from one project to another. So this is what we're going to be working on today. I am using my favorite clover hooks. This one's a 5.5 millimeter hook. Worked out great for this one. And I'm using normal acrylic yarn. And This so happens to be some of my stash Red Heart. If anybody has watched even one of my videos, you know I'm a Hobby Lobby lover. I will always bow to Hobby Lobby and go to them every chance I can get. But when I have other yarn, the last thing I'm going to do is let it go to waste. So we got our yarn, our hook, and as I recommended, I will recommend 3 of one color and 1 of a different color. Okay. My sidekick, I'm lost. My puppy is not with me crocheting today. He's been working hard making sure I'm feeling better, and I'm up through the night, so he hasn't been getting his normal 16-hour sleep, so he's pooped. He is pooped. He's a good pup. All right, so like I stated in the beginning, the magic ring. And you're going to need a quite big one to start. So when you do the magic circle or magic ring, you always chain 1. So then I need you to chain 2 more. And in this circle, I want you to put in 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. I want you to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And turn your work. Yes, you're working on top right now. So I want you to put a double crochet right in that same stitch where you did your chain 3. Then I want you to put 1 double crochet in each of the rest of the chains. So counting the chain 3, you should have 5 double crochets. Sorry for my dogs barking in the background. Okay. So that's what that looks like. Now chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then get some yarn going here and turn your work. Now this chain is going to lay in the back of your petal. This is your first petal. Okay. So now I want you to put in 4 double crochets back into that magic circle. Sorry, I had to mute it or pause it. The dogs were going crazy. All right, so now, like I said, you did 4 double crochets, chain 3, 2, and 3. Turn your work, and again, in that same stitch that you did the chain 3, do a double crochet. Then you do a double crochet in each of the following stitches. 1, and last one. Okay, now you chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and turn your work. And again, your chain 4 isn't a lie behind the petals. Okay, let's make another petal together. Ready? Put in 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work. put a double crochet in that first chain again, and then put a double crochet in each stitch. Chain 4. And turn your work. And then that's another petal. So altogether, we will need 8 petals. So I'm going to let you on your own to do 5 more. Okay? Okay. I got my 8 petals. All right. So you did your chain 4, and what you want to do is your chain right here. Right at the top. There's a gap at your first stitch. Just go right in there. Make sure you go behind your chain 4, and then you slip stitch. Now, I'm going to highly recommend that you pull this together now. Make sure you don't pull so tight that it breaks, okay? All right, so that is what that looks like. Now, before we go any further, this is where we do our stitch markers. This is the first stitch we're going to be working in, okay? So since that's going to be my beginning, I'm going to mark this corner right here. Where these stitch markers are, they're your corners. So then, whoops. So then your next chain 4 you skip. Your next chain 4, put a stitch marker. And again, skip 1. And the next one, put a stitch marker. Skip 1 and 1 more stitch marker. So these stitch markers should go with you the rest through how many rows you want to do. Okay. Now there's 2 ways to do this. If you want to change colors, then you just do an extra stitch, pull, and you know how to do that. And then you pick any one of your chain 4s to start. You just do your normal tie on. But if you're keeping your yarn, after you slip stitch to tie, chain 1, and you go into your next chain 4, you go in here and you do a single crochet. All right, and then you get started. So our first spot to work on is a corner. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and do a petal, regular petal. Chain 3, turn, do your back, I feel like I skipped a stitch. I did. I forgot to add my stitch. Hmm. Three, turn, 2, 3, 4, and in your chain 5. Do your chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. My dogs are having an issue tonight. It's getting frustrating. Anyway, so we did our first petal. You did your chain 4. Move that petal over because now you're going to do a second petal. So all corners will get 2 petals. Chain 3, turn, and then finish your petal. And chain your 4 and then turn. And before you go any further, I would put your stitch marker in there to mark your corner. So now the next chain 4 is your, what I would call your runway. Your runway only gets 1 petal. Chain 3. And then turn. And then your next one should be your corner. Okay, this is going to still look a little crazy to you. It's really part of the process, okay? So then let's do a corner. Corners again get 2 petals. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. And if you have to, slide them over and put in your second petal. And 4. In your corner, mark your corner. Your next one should be your runway. Right there. And that's just, make sure your chain fours always stay behind. Your runway is 1 petal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, turn, 4, and turn. And I'm going to let you finish this round on your own, the last 2 on your own, and then we'll meet back. Okay. Now, where am I? I'm right here. So I'm coming around. This is why I wanted to pop on. This is why having your stitch markers and knowing where you're at and exactly what you're doing, it is very easy to get confused on where you're at on this project, beginning, middle, end of whatever row. So I don't think I can just stress enough how important it really, really is to use those stitch markers. They're a great tool to use, especially when you're working on projects like this. I'm working on my last corner. Again, as I turn, I'm going to mark this corner. Okay. Then I should have one more runway. Sorry, the stitch markers are making such noise. And 4. Turn over. There's your stitch marker, your odd one. So now you go into that chain 3, this gap right there, and you slip stitch. And then now would probably be one of the greatest times to close up your center. Now, these centers are so tight that if you pull it too tight, your yarn will snap. And I know that from experience. So, all you can do is get your center as tight as you can. And that's really okay. Then go backwards. And that's enough for me because this is just a sample. All right. Now, like I said, it's going to seem wonky, but it does absolutely work out. And this is the theory on it. This second row, this is what you do every row. You do your corners, the two petals, and your runway, the one petal. And like I said, I really enjoyed doing 4 rows. And as you can see, it grows very fast. Okay, so now the next thing is the border. Okay, the edging. You pick whatever color you want to roll with. After chatting with Maggie, I chose to go with the lightest color. So you put on your slip stitch. You go in your corner. Hook your yarn. Come through. Chain 3. And put 3 more double crochets. Oh, I'm using the tail. Look at that. Does that tell you what kind of night it's been for me? I could edit these out, but I like you guys to see that stuff because it's kind of silly and it happens to all of us. All right, you chain your 3. And you put in 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then you put in 4 more double crochets. Three and 4. Okay. Once you got your corner in there, you are more than welcome to take your stitch marker out because you don't need it no more. Now, there's multiple ways of doing joins. There are doing the edging and then crocheting or sewing them shut, or there's join as you go. Now, if you choose to join as you go, after you do your corner, you need to chain 1. Okay, and then do your next space. But if you're not doing join as you go, do not do that chain. Okay, so in the next stitch, do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Next one, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Next one. 1, 2, and 3. The next one, 3. And that is all she wrote for how to do these. Your next one should be your corner. So it is 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 2, and 4. And then in row you do 3. Let me see at the end. Okay, I went all the way around. So I did 4 double crochets, chain 2, and 4 double crochets in the corner. And then after you come around, just slip stitch to that chain 3 and chain 1. And then we can just hide that tail. It was already hidden. And then, look at that. Like I said, these definitely need to be blocked. Now, if you choose to do a 5th row on this, the count on your sides, instead of doing 3 in each, you may need to do 4. Play around with it, see what works best for you. Okay, but this is the petal flower. So this is the one that I did in my colors. And again, this is the petal that I did in white. I personally like the color one. I like the wow factor on it, but that's me. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for all the love we've been getting on our tutorials, and just keep it coming. We're going to keep our videos going. So I want to thank Maggie and Lauren. They're a big part of this group. So thank you for everything they do. Maggie listens and she lets me bounce 100 things off of her all the time. So we are Whip and Chain for Work in Progress, WIP. And we're also on Facebook and we're on YouTube. So come find us, come join us. Please, at the bottom of the screen, if you like this video, can you please hit that like button and that subscribe button? It would help us so much. Until our next Granny Square tutorial, happy crocheting, everybody. Bye-bye.